All right, folks, so Canada is about to enter an economic winter. So I will get into that in a second. But before I do, I would like to touch on something else. There's a small percentage of folks that have been, calculating, shooting videos, projecting the future, even though it is hard to do, but sharing their thoughts on what if. What if we don't see the jump in real estate prices next year? What if we don't see a resolution on tariffs? What if we don't see many things unfold to which we believe with certainty that they will? And I'll get into that as well. So, but first, before I start, I would like to add that, everyone should do their own homework, and you obviously have to have your own and personal gut feeling in making these big life decisions. However, Canadian winter economy. So what do I mean by that exactly? Well, in the past, like when the market was booming and it was hot, and even before the pandemic numbers, peak numbers, right? Like we have seen, people have a predictable schedule and a predictable market, which means the fall market will list our homes and properties, and then the spring market will list it again, and on and on and on, right? So the strategy was, if you could not buy anything in fall, or if you didn't like it, you prepare over winter months, and then when spring hits, you're ready. Two, you have all of your paperwork in order, and then it's action time, right? And I remember those years and those months, right? Like we would start as early as January, and the scariest month for every realtor at the time was January 1st of every single year. But today it seems like that every single day is the scariest day in the calendar, and usually contains 365 days. Well, this was going on for a long time, and like you would prepare, you would try to make sure that your clients and that everybody gets ahead of the curve, that they get the best product, that they see the best listings, and on and on and on. But this time, it will be different, and it's not going to be as glamorous if everybody is expecting it. And 2025 was the glamorous, and we saw that, right? So 2026 is not get any better. In fact, it'll get worse. So the question is, how did we even get to that? And somebody has mentioned to me that in 2007 and 8, when we had the financial correction and the collapse in the United States and in other parts of the world, right? Canada kept going. We kept moving. So I believe psychologically, right? Investors and everyone else in the market like saw the opportunity that Canada was basically bulletproof, and it was an extremely safe market to invest funds, brick and mortar, real estate business, safety, you name it, and just continue, right? Like continue to invest, because Canada showed these numbers. Like it showed the trajectory, past numbers, future predictions. So everyone felt so comfortable. So we just kept going. Everyone else made the correction in their graphs, and we kept going. We kept progressing. So in my opinion, I believe the peak was, like it stated that the peak of the market was 2022. But I personally believe that the correction that we should have seen in Canada was somewhere between 2015 and 2017. And yes, around that time, we have seen, the double tax on foreign investors and all of that stuff, which cooled the market for a couple of months, but it kept going, right? So I don't know. I think we basically just bulldozed through these extra few years. Then we went into the pandemic, crazy, ludicrous numbers, and then we are here where we are. And in 2025, with certainty, many are claiming and predicting and calculating that 2026 and maybe even further, future years are not gonna be able to see any bright numbers. So when I mentioned that, I would also remind everyone that, the 90s, right? Like the early 90s, like what we have seen with Japan, right? Like Japan, I think, just saw the numbers correct itself into positive around 2020 with the rest of the world and the pandemic and the growth, like abnormal and unnatural growth. They have seen that peak and that growth, right? So what are we talking about? Like we're talking 30 years of stagnation. And then people are telling me and everyone else around them, like, like it is not possible for Canada. Well, why not? Everything is possible, right? Like it is possible for us that we could see another decade, maybe 2 decades of stagnation and flat market. And what has been going on with the US and the tariffs, and we know that the automotive, and these are viewers and subscribers from this channel commenting in other videos that Chrysler is leaving and they're having difficulties with the other automotive sectors, and like everything is kind of mixed in one bag, and it doesn't look as bright to Canada for Canada, right? And then Canada is shifting and trying to find other allies and resources how we can move forward. And I don't know if we are pretty much successful when it comes to that, right? Because we were a huge partner and ally with the United States, and now that's not our biggest backing, I would say, right? So the future, it's not going to be as bright, and whatever you're predicting, it is always safer to predict a little bit lower. So when I mentioned that, like I also would like to add something else. And it's just, I don't understand. It's a real story. It happened, like I was sitting at the table, and I don't know what the psychology is. So I'll get into it obviously without any names and whatnot, but like the property has been on the market. It's been on the market for a long time. We have seen a couple of price reductions within the few months. And the seller kept saying, like, look, I have already reduced the price. And when you're taking into consideration the entire market and the atmosphere and everything else, that property has been overpriced to begin with. So the price reductions only brought it to a fair market value. That's it. Now, that particular person has financial issues, and they need to get out of this property. They have to, like they could maybe hold on for another month or two, but I don't think that they can hold on for much longer. So having said that, sitting down on the table, and the offer is a firm offer. So no financing, no nothing. Like they want to move in. They want to move in mid-November. So having said that, so which is literally now, right? So I don't know when this video will be uploaded, but it's mid-November. So, negotiating back and forth, the offer came in very light, like it like very, very light. It was almost like, like I don't want to deal with you. That's how light it was, but that's fine. They corrected, they came close to the list price, and we negotiated $5,000 apart from the last list price and the offer, with a firm offer on the table and closing within a few weeks. And that particular seller says, no, it's either they're going to match the price or I'm out. So what do you say to a person like that? I mean, I went back and forth, like, and said, like, look, it's your property. Do whatever you want with it. Like, it doesn't matter, right? But just think about it. Like, even if we're sitting on the market, right? If your property is just sitting there for another month or another 2 months, and then the closing is, let's say, in 2 months, and if somebody on average, right, and somebody takes this particular property to possession, they take over in January or February, like you will pay the money up, like either way. So unless somebody else comes in and gives you the full price, which is unlikely, completely unlikely, right? And one of the big reasons why this person is buying your particular address is because of other factors, family members being close and all of that stuff, right? So I've been sitting there for 24 hours just trying to understand. I'm not push the client to make a decision and sell or give it away or whatever they have in their head. It's just like I'm just trying to understand, like, what are they hoping for? What's the psychological explanation for not taking the 5,000 off of the list price? And the only explanation that I could have had is that they believe that the price reduction over the months accumulated to a significant number, and they believe that already that is the saving for the client. So even though that was not realistic, that price was way astronomical, had nothing to do with reality. But I think that's the only wrench at this point. But I don't know if they're making a good or a bad decision. Time will tell. Like, I don't know what will happen. But I just wanted to share this with you guys, that this is not something that, you know what I mean, like, that you play around with nowadays, right? Especially in this climate, and especially before the winter months. Because even in the best times ever, trading in winter is extremely difficult. Icy roads, weather conditions, finding the lockbox, getting out of the house, being unmotivated, not seeing the property properly, right? Because it's covered in snow. Entering and exiting the properties could be very difficult. If people are like, those are all items that work against you in winter months, right? So it's just something that I would like to add. Also, I would like to thank a subscriber and a viewer from this particular channel. They bumped into me on Bay Street in Toronto downtown. They walked up to me. They were very polite. They were very warm and cool, and we shook hands. We spoke for 5 minutes, and this particular gentleman, he thanked me for what I was doing, and this is the reason why we do what we do, right? Like, it's not exposing somebody. It's not saying something that matches or not matches the news or whatever the case is. No, it's just saying what I truly think, right? And you can take it for whatever it's worth to you, or you can not take it. But either way, it was very nice that they took the courage. They came up to me, they recognized me, and we had a very nice conversation for 5 and 10 minutes. So anyways, if I ever see you on the street, please walk up to me. I always like to shake hands. Hug, shake hands, talk, we can exchange. And I asked this actually person, I asked him, I said, like, is there anything you would like to see me change in this particular on this particular channel or video or whatever? And he said, no, like, you're pretty good, like, and authentic and all of that stuff. Maybe some thumbnails, maybe if you could maybe fix the thumbnails to maybe a modern thumbnail. I don't know if it's the same thing you see. I don't think it's as much as important as people say, like, if you do something that's out there, like you're trying to clickbait people, if that's the right terminology. But I'm just trying to show on the thumbnail whatever I will kind of talk about in the video. So I think that's the goal. Anyways, I hope you got some value. So please click like, subscribe, and share to somebody you think that they will enjoy content like this. And I will see you in the next one.